Well, hello and welcome to the wrap. This is a show rounding up all things Zwift from the last week. We talk racing, we talk events, we talk tech, and of course we talk fashion. We are live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and X, formerly known as Twitter. Currently we are live every Thursday night, 11 p.m.-ish, 11:30 tonight Central Standard Time, and 5:30 p.m. NZT on Friday. And this week it is episode 79 on Thursday, January 18th, 2024. I had to remember what the year was, actually, as we have jumped into 2024 so quickly. This week we're talking, well, playground injuries and what they might mean to your Zwift racing and your attitude. Zwift Grand Prix wrap up. Tour de Boudica women's racing was absolutely awesome all weekend long. The ERL, as well as some verification stuff that's been going on, which is actually a great step forward, even though it might have some growing pains. We'll be talking, what's the difference between in real life, all possible worlds, virtual worlds, and racing in relationship to some of that. A guide to direct drive trainer cassette spacing. We actually had something really similar to that with Gabby, and that just got put in the notes in the last second. Interesting. Cool that that's common, or maybe not cool, but that will solve it. And ZRL, we'll talk about that as our sign-off today to talk about how that's going to go for us next week with maybe some predictions. Our fashion for the week, as we do talk fashion a whole lot here, is the London Tube kit. Make sure to rate that for us in the chat. 1 out of 10. 1 to 10. 10 being the best. 1 being the Tour de Zwift kit. So, all right, everybody. Let's kick it off as we usually do. We usually say what we've been getting up to lately, and I hear Anna. Oh, and I'm Nathan Guerra. That's Anna Russell. She's in New Zealand. I'm in the US of A. And she's got playground injuries that are keeping her from doing it. I've had playground injuries too. I don't know if mine have been that serious. I don't know, but I think it's probably a dirt thing, a mert thing. But we're not. When we get away from being indoors and riding our trainers, it gets really dangerous in the world. Being a parent, it sounds like.
How bad is that, right? Like, anyway, and we talked about how playgrounds can be so good for me to get my gym work in, which is usually what I've been doing in a playground, but I messed it up this time. And it actually happened 3 weeks ago. But anyway, I'll give the whole story. In the playground with all my kids at school holidays, I was running up a rope. It's not a rope ladder, but like a rope, like a cargo net kind of thing. Is that what you call it? Anyway, I thought I was doing really well. So I got to the top and went to launch up onto the platform and instead
I know what you're talking about. There's a small space at the top. Like, I don't know if we have the same exact ones here, but there's a small space. And you go to, and when I have done that, I have done that same thing. Chasing your kids, playing tag or something, or what?
Yeah.
Okay.
So launched into a middle pole, our middle safety rail, and then was like, whoa. I don't feel good. But anyway, it was kind of like, how bad can it be, right? And I slept that afternoon for 2 or 3 hours. As soon as I got home, I had to get my husband to come home from work. Slept 14 hours that night. Felt a bit queasy for a few days and was
14
like,
hours.
Fine.
You took a nap and slept 14 hours. You actually, that's so key signs.
So anyway, that was kind of, I just assumed it was all fine. And then very bad PSA, don't assume things are fine. But just haven't been able to resolve my neck injury. It's not bad, but I was saying to Claire, I've been on the trainer, on my TT bars, but with my head resting on the Wahoo desk and actually just swifting off my phone. So I didn't have to look up at the screen.
Whoa.
So kind of in
that's pretty symptomatic, to be honest, Anna. Whoa.
I know. And so I finally went to the physio yesterday to be like, oh, can you just give me some exercises for my neck? It's not quite right. So she I walked through the injury with her and she's like, oh yeah, you 100% have had a concussion. So not great, mild. I didn't get knocked out or anything, but it kind of pieces together why some things have felt a bit funny. But to be fair, it was mild and it will have, because I'm good at listening to my body, I have taken a few days off when I've just felt not good. Because I was like, oh, it must just be school holidays. I'm really tired. But it turns out it probably wasn't. So listen to your body.
Last week when we got on for the podcast, I was like, hey, you all right? Like, I was kind of like, I remember.
So grumpy.
Yeah, you're kind of grumpy. Like, I don't want to talk about that. I'm like, okay.
Oh my gosh. So not good, right?
And we were all, I think I was tired and getting over
Oh.
sickness too, and like had worked 72 hours straight. I think we were all kind of like, but I think we had a pretty good episode with Eric, I think, on. Eric kept us all cheerful. I think he was kind of like, what is up with these guys? Like, what?
I know, poor Eric.
Oh, man.
Oh my gosh, imagine if we hadn't had him there, it would have just ended after 40 minutes as I walk out of here and just be like, I'm done. But no, it's so like what I've been up to, still Zwifting, because I kind of wasn't, again, listen to my body, cut out all the hard workouts, not knowing what this was, and then have just been doing zone 2, like rode a few of the Tour de Zwift stuff and just relaxing and enjoying and not stressing out, and it's feel better, which has been good. So that's kind of me.
I want to know if other people have had these, like, they're what's the playground injuries, you know? Because what's my worst? I think I rolled my ankle and it impacted. I've had this slight injury for almost 3 years, actually. Like, it was kind of for a while. Like, it rolled it bad enough that it became somewhat chronic, like where it got better, but it maybe needed a little more care or a little more time. I don't know what it was, but it just rolled it in a way where for like the next 3 years, if I did the wrong things or pedaled the wrong way or whatever, it just was not. And I'd already like rolled that one or sprained that one multiple times in my youth. So I think it then caught. So I definitely have had some playground injuries. That's the one that was most recent. I was, with my son Kyle was trying to juke me with the soccer ball. And I remember I had just a slight too big of a platform on my shoe and tried playing some soccer on the playground and whook. Oh, okay. You know, and when he's getting faster, you know, my son's getting, and he can't beat me. I can't let my son beat me. You know, it's like, no way. And he's getting old enough where like, it's getting competitive a little bit, you know, like I'm going to get dad and dad's like, uh-oh, okay, here we go. You know, so it's good.
Yeah.
It was definitely playground injuries. So let's hear about your playground injuries. Maybe that's not going to be for all the dads inside riding trainers and moms riding inside trainers. So, well, what else we got going on? What I've been up to, I was actually playing hockey today, which was great. That was absolutely awesome. I've been doing some much needed core and weight room. Like I've really been hitting the weight room, but not like, I realized when I hit the weight room why my back got injured. Like, and I said this a few weeks ago and I'm going to reiterate it. Like when you go into off season, get in the weight room. If you are a cyclist and mainly a cyclist and you really, really hammer on your body at like pro hours or elite hours or even Cat 1, Cat 2 hours, or you're inside on Zwift a lot, on a trainer a lot, that doesn't get a lot of resistance work where you're shaking, like you're hitting things and you're whatever, like dealing with CrossFit type stuff. I don't know how else to say it. Like you don't get a lot of impact on the muscles and on the bone structure. Cycling tends toward osteoporosis and a few other different kinds of things that can really come in. So that resistance work then causes the body to respond in ways that give you longevity in those ways. And man, like, you know, I thought I could just sneak by and jump right into a Zwift season and maybe do some lifting in the spring. And that huge, you know, going into ZGP, it just was that needle on the camel's back kind of a thing, you know, just pushed it over the top. And I'm really excited actually about the weightlifting now because of how quickly I'm seeing the response in my body feeling better overall. So just reiterating, get in there and take a break. Maybe I'm not taking a complete break from the bike. I'm still riding, you know, 7 to 10 hours, you know, a couple hours, 1 to 2 hours a day here and there.
A day.
Yeah. But like, not
7 to 10 hours a day.
No, not a day. That happened one day, but yeah, you know, otherwise I'm just been super Gabby support train right now, big time too. Like she's been racing a ton after the COVID or whatever that was in the household. We got over that and she's gotten back into it. And she did, I think she did ZGP last Thursday, then she did Tour de Boudica Friday, then ERL and Tour de Boudica Saturday, and then also Tour de Boudica Sunday. And it was like, I'm going to do this big block and pushed it really hard.
Yeah.
And so just been supporting that and riding alongside, like, good job. Here we go. I'm going to go do Wollonga Hill. Okay.
What was Wollonga Hill like? I haven't done that portal, but I kind of wanted to.
I actually enjoy it, but I'm on the 50%, so I'm not getting the full because I'm totally on XP grind. So I'm like,
oh my God.
I need to go full gas at it one time. I do need to give it a full gas go. I actually
go see if
like
you can beat Sarah Gigante's time.
Her time, what was it? It was like 11 or 12.
Yeah, I want to say something. I'll go have a look because she's like, she's actually to tie this back, she was a big Zwifter over the lockdowns. Like I raced with her a lot. And
I think
we commentated on her a lot, and her dad would message me like stuff about Sarah.
Yeah. And you and Cameron, and he was and he was even racing maybe at times or riding at least.
He raced as well.
Yeah.
So he raced in like the Sea Cat Men or something, and she was racing. It was awesome. And like, tangent, but like, shout out, she deserved an amazing result, and it was so cool to see. And I do want to go try that Wollonga Hill because I think she went bottom to top. So sometimes it's hard to compare. Like if you go demi-volering on the climb in the Tour de France Femme, she didn't go bottom to top. Like she went like halfway up to top. So it's, you could have someone who goes, oh my gosh, I'm that fast. It's like, oh, well, it was a bit tactical. This was, she hit the gradient and it was boom, go. So you could have a good little
I was a little surprised at her move, actually. Like, I was like, is this going to work? Is this really going to work? And then
block headwind.
And then when she was still sitting down and Uttrup Ludwig was on her wheel still, right? And then while she was sitting down, Uttrup let the wheel go, and then she stood up. Then she like, and I was like, whoa, this. And at that moment, that's when I knew it was over. At that moment, I was like, this is done. She looks comfy. She looks aggressive. She looks like she's in confidence and on top of this right now. That was one of the best wins I've seen in a really, really long time. And knowing kind of her background, knowing her struggles a little bit, like, and seeing her come back in this kind of way and to win at that level, it was really heartwarming to watch. See, and the whole race, the questions in the commentary were constantly there. They were, I don't know if it was always like, well, and she got cut out in the headwind actually at one point, and like,
she was behind, and the Kiwi dragged her back up. So a young Kiwi, she's only like 22 or something. But
was that the one who won the first stage?
Yeah,
okay.
First stage, Ellie Wollaston.
That's right.
So that was amazing. But it was really interesting at the finish line. She was, it was quite emotional, but she was saying, everyone thought I was washed up at 23. And imagine, like, I was just thinking, like, imagine that. Like, imagine all the commentary, everything is about how you don't have it anymore. And then you come through that and do that. I mean, that's pretty amazing. And this was right in the middle of the Tour de Boudica that we were doing. And our team, like, I know Gabby as well, was like, this is so awesome. Like, this has totally motivated me for like the racing that we're doing online. Like, it was a great little crossover. It was nice.
Very cool. That's so awesome to hear, actually, about how it motivates, and that's super cool. Super cool. Well, a little bit of a bunny trail there, but TDU, I watched the men's race. If you guys haven't watched the men's racing, it's a lot of sprint stages, but it's been some cool domination as far as the sprint stages go. And then on the men's side, this new upcomer out of Mexico, Del Toro, I've got my eyes on him now. Like, whoa, okay, real deal. Watch out. I want to see if he lights up some fireworks over the next couple days. It'll be interesting to see if anybody's kind of like sitting in the wheels and like, okay, yeah, that was a cool 300 meters, 600 meters, right on. And if there's anyone who's got something more, or if no, he's just really that strong right now and can just walk away. So that'll be cool. TDU's been really cool actually to follow this year.
Yeah, absolutely. Just to like, because people might be like, this is in real life cycling, why are you talking about this? The Zwift monthly mission for January is the Tour Down Under branded focused climbing mission. So they are trying to do a lot to align with this. And I saw Kate Venero was on the ground for the women's race from Zwift. And the Young Rider Award is the Zwift Young Rider Award at this tour. So there's a lot of alignment there. I know in like the States and the Northern Hemisphere, it's all winter and like everyone's forgotten that cycling is kind of happening in real life. But here in the Southern Hemisphere, like this is quite a big event. So I'd urge you to go try that Wollonga Hill this month.
Yeah, and I wouldn't be surprised if you see some llama content coming out too, GP llama content. I know he was hanging out with Zwift Oz there, and they were on site, and they had setups going on. So like,
cool.
There's definitely alignment here when it comes to Zwift and the Tour Down Under, and I think and hope that we see more and more of that across the World Tour. Actually, in a lot of ways, it's just cool to see, and it is something also here at ZCL that we want to. I really think there's a space for like, level up your cycling. Like there's a lot of people who are new to cycling and don't necessarily watch cycling. Like that's a demographic that is being pulled in to the Zwift sphere and might take some interest in like, well, what's this all about? And like, what better way to make that introduction that people who are like super avid Zwifters who are also completely immersed in checking out everything that's going. I mean, you're kind of honestly, Anna, like, you're the model of that. Like you said, you weren't into real life cycling actually until
and now I'm
Zwift,
all about
and now
it.
You're like watching it all the time. So,
like literally all the time. And I think there's a great article up at the moment on Escape Collective about the women's peloton and the effect that the Tour de France Femme avec Zwift has had on sponsorship. Kate Venero from Zwift is also cited in that article around Zwift's support and the return on investment they've had. And apparently like the degree to which subscriptions and trainer sales go up during that time period was quite tangible. So nice. I know when we had Sai on the show, he was kind of talking about that crossover between pro cycling and in real life cycling and being on Zwift. I think it's quite a tangible thing in the women's racing between the two. So yeah, go watch, if you can go watch it recorded, go watch Sarah Gigante on that Wollonga Climb.
Cool. Questions coming in here actually. There's a couple different ways that you can watch. The women's I watched on 7+ because it was free. So there's a lot of commercials, but that's the way that they were able to make it free, I believe. Like I just noticed there's a ton, but then for the men's side of things, it's on Peacock. So that's how I'm watching and that's an NBC. So NBC essentially, I believe owns Peacock and just made that their streaming service that they put stuff on instead of putting on NBC Sports or something. So, but for the women's side of things, I watched it live actually. That was just a comment coming in from Gina Durante over on YouTube wondering, GCN Plus isn't around anymore. How are you doing that? Well, it does look like there are part of the reason why, GCN, I'm not saying GCN Plus should have went away. I really liked that service, but there were the ownership around that on a larger media scale seems to be putting those feeds other places at least, rather than just shutting down cycling. So now it seems like it's at least being sold to more traditional channels, and ways of consuming that media or streaming services that were already kind of being boosted. So I think like there was from like a business side of things, they were like, look, we're already creating these other streaming platforms and we're not going to cannibalize that across. And we're going to throw cycling in to because they probably in getting out of their old school dinosaurs, like from 20 years ago, that took forever for them to start providing something that's on demand. Now they're starting to do that. And they're like, well, we already are doing it. I think there was kind of that whole thing going on and why that happened. Now, whether or not that was a good move, that's a whole nother question, but that's...
I'm just Googling. I may not mention the place I watch it because I am just Googling, like, is this legal? So don't listen to where I watch it. But the reason why is because we had GCN Plus and unfortunately, like so much of the racing was geo-blocked because we have a one monopolized sport provider that you have to pay like a ton of money. And part of it is cycling. And then like 90% of it is rugby. And I'm like, well, I'm not going to watch 90%
and you probably
of this,
you probably don't get all the feeds, like every feed you would want to get anyways. So
no, you don't get everything. So I do watch this other one, but
tough.
I feel better about it because I rave about women's cycling all the time. So hopefully the bad karma of doing that is over with me talking about it a lot more. So there we go.
Someone's coming for you, Anna. They're coming for you.
I know. It's a really good site though.
Actually
got interviewed.
Oh no.
Actually got interviewed by like some cycling news organizations because it's become so popular. But anyway.
Interesting. Oh, that's interesting. Well, maybe they'll get a contract and start providing the coverage you're looking for. All right, moving on. Coverage, Zwift Grand Prix wrap up. Honestly, the last 2 weeks put some icing on the cake that was needed for me when it came to Zwift Grand Prix. The epic race last week in London was absolutely awesome. And then it was like a turnaround to like super fast, high competitive tactical racing on the Royal Pump Room in Harrogate. And that today was nail biting as well. Like it came right down to it, especially on the men's side of things, but also on the women's side of things. Things were pretty wide open. Coalition were fairly dominant, I got to say. But as far as, solidifying the series, but, it still had some awesome in the races going on. There was still lots of great racing happening, even though Coalition tactically just showed why they were the top team this season.
I think from the women's side, I did watch the women's racing. Oh my gosh, because I raced with her over Tour de Boudica. Is it Colombo, the Italian?
Colombi, Celine.
Yeah,
she's like,
wow.
Whoa.
Breakout rider. Now, what was interesting though is in Tour de Boudica, we knew she could stay away. And that day 3, honestly, like our teammate Natalie was on Colombi watch. And it was like, anytime she goes, you go. And honestly, she probably brought back an attack 5 times.
Oh my God.
And I was like, I felt quite sorry for her. And totally, that was her race done. Like that was her job. And we hit the climb and she was blowing up. But I saw it today in Grand Prix and I was like, shocked that she got away again. I mean, she seems to have extremely good nous for when to go.
Yep.
Like she just goes at this. I mean, and obviously you've got to have and I heard you say it in the show, and it's what Kate always used to say to me too, is like, you've got to go when you're hurting because everyone will hurt. But to actually do that is really hard because you're hurting and you just want to stop. And she went like just as pop bank, and you said it in your commentary, just eases off a little, but it's almost the most painful part because you've been up out of the saddle mashing and you've got all this lactate and then suddenly you're not actually finished the climb. And that's like where she went. I was like, wow, okay. That was impressive.
Yeah, and that's when the speed increases the most, it feels like. And it's this slow, steady grind still of like a 3 to 4% or so. And you can up the speed so much if you still have a kick. She went to like 6 watts per kilogram, almost 7, then backed off to like 5.8, and right around that 5 to 6, and just steady, just rode away. Gabby tried closing and used it. There was a little bit of kicking ourselves here because like I said, hey, Gabby, you either use it because you're going to get dropped in the steepest part or you save it to try and go across later. And she like hesitated a little bit. Yeah, the feather. And she used it when Clumby was already gone. It wasn't going to happen at that point, you know? And it was like, there goes a resource. But it was such a great tactical race though, all the way to the line. Like everyone at as far as that individual to the finish line goes, really, really earned it out there. And then on top of that, the tactics early on were just, women were just jumping off the front, Elise Haag, and then Beast Mode were just attacking from the gun. It was like, I just really thought that the women made an absolute amazing show. If you haven't watched it, everybody, like great racing from the get-go. It wasn't negative racing, that's for sure. Like it was nonstop attacks.
Yeah, I know our team had the strategy of one of the riders, Natalie, doing a lead out to M for the first sprint. And Natalie got some of her all-time best power numbers just from doing that lead out. She was like, the average watts per kg on the lead out was 7 to 8 to 9, just holding on this uphill bit. And she was like, this is just bananas. But it was cool to watch.
I saw M. It was one place off a point. She really went all into. It was exactly what we were talking about too. Like if you go for that and you just gave everything for it, it's like, Oh man.
Oh. That's why Points Hunter, I reckon, I don't know how the riders feel. I've done one of the Points Hunter races. I think as a rider, it's really mentally hard, but as a spectator, it's awesome. Like
Yeah.
it's really great to watch. Like it's
Making
just
those decisions is really difficult. It really is. Those moment to moment about like, oh, am I? And then you're not sure if you're gonna get it. And then you have like all the best athletes in the world going for it at the same time, and then you second guess what you're doing, and it's like it really puts you in a tough spot. Like really tough spot.
Yeah. It's kind of like the dude who's been winning the Tour Down Under. He had this quote that was like, "Don't think," and I was like, "It's pretty much it. You've just got to like put your head down and go." And
are you talking about Welsford? You're talking about Sam Welsford?
Welsford,
Yeah,
Sam
yeah,
Welsford.
gotcha.
Yeah, it was basically like, don't. I don't know that it was just the bit I saw was like, "Don't think." I was like, "That's true." Like you got to like just put your head down and go. And so many times I'll try that, and then I'm just so tempted to look up and be like, where am I? You know, whereas it's like you just actually need to actually go all in.
Well, you kind of were doing that the first 2 days of Tour de Boudica, though. I was watching.
Yeah.
And,
that was fun.
You know, swapping up a little bit, man. Like you on Champs Elysees, you were the instigator in the sprint. I mean, I was like, Gabby, do this, Gabby, do that. I was like right next to her, and I was like, whoa, there goes Anna. Get on her wheel. What are you waiting for? Like, because I was like, that's the perfect lead out. Anna's gone. It's over.
Yeah.
It's over.
Oh, and it's kind of hard because that thinking as well, because Gabby and I talked after, and I was like, oh, I should have said, like, I'm going to go. But you know, when you just feel the group has slowed and you go now and you just go, and it's like, oh my gosh, but then in the day two, I think it was day two, there was like the, Glasgow crit circuit. Now, I thought that I was like the queen of the Clyde kicker. Like, I was just like, I've got this FTS nailed. Like, I know how this one works. I'd have to say Jen is like the queen of the Clyde kicker. Like, she was just so good at it. But I've realized on that course now, we did 10 laps. So it was similar to like ZRL a season ago. Everyone, like the first 3 laps, I was like, I can't do this. Like, this is so hard. But then that attrition comes in, and that training comes in under attrition that you've done. You know, like I've done those efforts now where it's just continuous. And it was like, I broke away 3 times for FAL on the champion sprint.
You
and
killed that champion sprint, and you did it the same spot like, every time, and they just watched you. I was like, really?
No. It was awesome. So now
it was perfect
kind of like,
too. It was a perfect setup for Gabby's attack too. It was perfect setup.
It was because I saw her like they caught and then she launched off. I was like, this is like great. Like there are some good tactics on this one. Like I think, and it was a really good lesson to me and for everyone with ZRL coming up, is it doesn't matter if you feel bad at the beginning, because it actually matters how good you can go when you're tired. And I think that's what I learned big time, was that I was just like, oh, I'll just roll around here. And then got to lap 5, lap 6. I was like, actually, no, this is getting slow. Like, I can still maintain. So I think it was like a good one.
In the mountain bike world, actually, I can rate that over that I've learned and brought into ZRL and Zwift racing, is that everybody's got a kick for 10 minutes. That's when the real decisions are made. 10 minutes to 12 minutes or 15 minutes into a mountain bike race, they might make it a lap. And if they make it a lap, they're a contender if they do the work later down probably, or they just really have a lot of grit. But after that, that's when the race actually starts. Half a lap to a lap in on our, like, we would do 15 to 20 minute laps or so, 5 laps. So is a mountain bike cross country race usually around that. And it's always around lap 1 or 2, you know, somebody who's like a serious contender for podium and can make it later down into the elites and like needs some work, but like they'll make it 2, and then the real attacks start later on. But man, it's all about the attrition really for when it comes to really all the young guns who come in, they're always fighting for the whole shot. And you're just kind of like, okay, bud, yeah. Okay, 10 minutes, you know, and then after they're done, and like that's
Yeah.
when it's like, who's here still? That's when you figure it out. Unless you're on a day where you're like, I'm talking about my, but like some days I'm like, I'm not putting up with it today. And then you just go from the get go. And then like, let's see how many people we can drop in the first, cause mountain biking, nobody's drafting at certain points. So you can just like, if you can go, you can go if you take the whole shot, which is a little bit different. But anyways, I'd agree with that as far as nutrition goes, as long as you're not wasting yourself.
Yeah, I think, well, you do that testing one, right? Where you test it and then be like, okay, like lap 1, I had to go 8 watts a kg. Lap 2, 7 watts a kg. Lap 3, I basically just kind of like
5 to 6. I looked, yeah.
I was like, okay, see ya. So I think I'm just looking at the ZRL courses coming up, and I'm like, you look at something like, I think even Island Hopper, it's got some drags up there. It's 36 kilometers. Yeah, like 5 sprints, 4, 5, 6, 7, no, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 sprints. That's one to think about, I reckon. Like, don't get down on yourself if the first 3 sprints feel terrible. No, the first sprints are going to be horrible. Fresh.
They're going to be, they're going to be so hard because everyone is so fresh and everybody can do whatever the maximum is of your category, right? Like, it's going to feel like everyone's going for the win at that moment. That's where it really comes down to when the training is going to kick in. So good. That's a really good point, actually, Anna, for ZRL next week. Really good point.
Yeah. So there we go. But yeah, Tour de Boudica was awesome. Like, I think it was 5th year that they've done it. And yeah, it's just I'd say it's like I said before the race, it's a staple of the women's community racing. We won the teams competition, which was really rad. Gabby was 2nd on the GC, which was really cool. The rest of the team like blew completely on like the 3rd one, because we're like, we'll chase everything down, we'll do all of this. We all got to the volcano and we're like, oh my god.
Well, you did set her up. I mean, like, hats off to Holdcroft because she was able to hold on. Like, hats off. Like, that was because you guys did everything you could. It was really really impressive, actually. But Holdcroft was just stronger, and she set herself up really well with her timing. I mean, Gabby wasn't getting 8 seconds back in that final sprint probably, but then Holdcroft like timed her sprint with a feather power up really well with a ton of speed, and you can see, man, the sprints now are so tactical, They're very, very, very different now. I can't get over that, but Tour de Boudica, I thought that ZMS did an amazing job with their coverage. They've got a lot of very cool graphics that they're bringing in. I thought that having Jillian on as well as Emma, they did a great job on the commentary, having women on for the commentary. I thought the whole thing was a great celebration of women's cycling over the weekend.
Yeah, I've kind of got a question for the audience. Is with coverage, and I mean, you could answer it too, but I guess I want it from more of like the spectator point of view, because, and I mean, so my parents were watching because it was like perfect time for them in the morning. They were having their coffee and watching the coverage, and they just wanted to watch my race. But they were kind of, and I know you've talked about this a lot with like ZRL, and they were going through ABCD, which is great because they want to cover everything. But then when you cover everything, you lose a bit of the story because you're sort of, you're covering something and then you're switching to somewhere else, and now you've got to learn who these players are. And then by the time you kind of learn that and get into that, then it goes to the next category. I'm just wondering, like, what's the, like, because there's not many sports out there.
It's very difficult.
It's really hard. Yeah.
The way that it works well in most cycling at this point, and that we've learned, is when we work with organizers, and if it's a broadcast that we really want to push, okay, so here's how it goes. There's 2 tensions happening here. The organizers want to get as many people on bikes as they possibly can and into your event. If you schedule things across a large spread out time, and it's kind of like, I just want to get a cool workout in, I do this because I'm a part of a team, but like the motivations are half and half in the person, or not fully like, I'm just a competitor. Like there's still like, I'm racing because I get a workout and I'm a part of a team, and it's a cool way for me to get a workout. You know what I mean? Like there's still this home exercise side to it, if that makes sense. You know what I mean? Like, and so what's most convenient to get the most butts on bikes is to run all the freaking, like all the events in unison with each other. So then you can't. So like that tension is in there with event organizers where it is, whereas if something is about the entertainment of it, you're never going to put things on top of each other. You're going to have things at least spread out enough. Even with like NFL, you might have like 3 games all running at once, but you know that there's like 9 games today, and like there's 3 games at this time, 3 games at this time, 3 games at this time, and 3 games at this time, and you've always got a game throughout Sunday to watch all day if you want to do Sunday football, and so I think with ERL, even with ERL though, like we're going to cover the D's this week, we're going to cover the C's this week, and then I try and jump over somewhere else. But in the amateur stuff, we've missed a lot of things, and I try and then it's like, like, is there a story here? And we just try and stick with it. But it's like, you try and go where there's a narrative. So what I've done when there is everything being run at the same time, I try and find, who's giving us a narrative? Try and go there. You know what I mean? And so like, we'll bring them all back, and I'll be like, they're giving us a narrative. We're going to stay with this narrative until it runs its course, and then try and go somewhere else. But like, it's a tough tension there. And I think at the highest end of esport, at main events, you never have things running in succession ever. You always have head to head, or whatever, like event after event. And I hope we can get to a place where, it's a long day broadcast, but we've done it in the past where we have a 4 or 5 hour broadcast, like a traditional esports thing where like, even ZRL, you see with ZRL, we'll just focus on 3 or 4 different races, but we'll just stick with one category, and not go across the too many. But at the same time, a lot of the viewership is also a community service. Like you're trying to serve the community so they can be a part of the water cooler conversation that's about their race and their family can see. And that's part of the draw to some of the in real life stuff, because the races go on all day. Then people come and hang out and watch their dad race, and then or their brother race.
I know this is like almost impossible from knowing a bit of behind the scenes of how it works, but like what I reckon would be this like perfect solution would be like, so I send the YouTube link to my parents to go watch, and the YouTube link opens up and they have like 4, there's the A screen, the B screen, the C screen, the D screen, and they just click which one they want to watch. And there's their commentators with that race. Like, could you imagine, right?
Yeah. That exists. That does exist in other spaces where you can pay 8 commentators.
Yeah.
Like
that's what I mean.
In
it's
Dota, so during Dota qualifiers, I was just watching the Defense of the Ancients qualifiers this past weekend. I'm total Shopify Rebellion fan. I'm like super all about them as the top American team. Now Nouns is kind of challenging them. There was a roster split. Now people that were on one roster are battling another. And it's like, well, who was really the problem that NA wasn't on the top? And you're watching like, so that's all playing out. And so there's some Dota information. But like, you've got multiple qualifiers all going on at the same time with like 4 production teams, literally 4 production teams, and literally 8 commentators who are all being paid for that. So like, but they have 10,000 people as a small stream watching the qualifier live, concurrent. I'm sorry, 10,000 concurrent viewers. That is a small stream. Okay. At the finals, there'll be 50,000 to 100,000 live viewers, right? It'll have 1 million views. Like, so they can justify. There's $1 million prize pool at the end of each one of these. At the end of each one of these tournaments, they're trying to qualify for. So that's and hopefully we can head there. But even in real life cycling, I would like to know if their numbers are there. You know what I mean? Like,
oh yeah, probably not. But I think it was a good. Like I thought the coverage was awesome, but it was just an interesting comment from my parents being like, "I just want to watch you." I was like. Okay, well,
and there's the thing really too. I gotta say it. Like I get people. Like I had a DM, and bless your heart, bud. Well, where's the schedule that I can see every single one of the Z racing? Like, so I know what everyone is going to be broadcast. And I was like, we don't, I was like,
I don't work 24/7.
Yeah. Like we don't have 24/7 broadcasts of Z racing, and I just just say no, whatever. But there is that, like, well, I want to see me on TV. I was like, everybody wants to see themselves on TV. Like, yeah. I mean, I know we try. Sorry. And at a certain point, I got to say this. This is the tension. Is this about creating sports entertainment or about people seeing themselves on TV? And I'm sorry, but I'm sorry. The higher value is sports entertainment, everyone, not you seeing yourself on TV. Okay? Like, that's just
I
true.
want to see myself on TV.
Oh, man.
Oh, my gosh.
Okay, James Barnes just came into a chat, and we haven't talked about it yet, the men's race and the ZGP. We went into a big, long bunny trail there, but wow. The men's race came down to literally 1 point in the team's competition on the day and 1 point in the, like that was it. It was just 1 point. Oh my gosh, I can't believe how close it was.
That's great for talking about spectators. That's great for viewership. That tension, that was great.
Was
Sorry, James.
So close.
I'm bad for you, but man, like, great for the watchers.
And like, Thomas Perrin was in it for that point, and Duffy was in it for the point in 2 separate sprints. Oh man, it was rough to watch. It was rough to watch. And I think Turek also almost had it as well. There were 3 opportunities where they were this close to taking that 1 point. Literally, Barnes says he had 405 watt normalized power for the first 20 minutes of that race. That's how hard they were going.
Oh my gosh. But don't worry, James, because it's just a game.
It's just a game. Oh, and Nikki Hug. And Nikki Hug. Every one of them. Come on. Oh my God. Every one of them were so close. Good job though to Next Esports, and congratulations to Abus. I mean, they earned it. You got to admit they earned it. They did a great job.
Those power numbers just make me feel sick, eh? Like it's yeah, I was talking before about starting a race and not feeling good. Like that's not a start of the race that you want. Oh my gosh. You get to the end of that and you've just been through the ringer, right? So, and James, was it you chasing everything? Were you the chaser? That's a tough job.
I wonder. So it's, I think he was off the back. With those numbers, I think he actually found himself off the back on the second KOM or the first KOM, like somewhere around there. It was a brawl. Second KOM. I think it was second KOM. It was an all out brawl. Like I was watching. Yeah. So James, I was watching Barnes stream while also watching. I actually had his stream up on my third monitor over here and was like chatting in there a little bit, like hey yeah, and like good job, James. So
oh my gosh,
I'm a big Barney fan. He's awesome.
We all are. James was my Esport Rider of 2022, from what I remember. Named him the Esport Rider of the Year. So, fan favorite here.
One shout out now. Speaking of also ZGP, Kristen Kolchinski not present with the new national champions kit, still sick. Oh, that is rough.
So there was maybe one rider in Tour de Boudica was from 2024, and I think they only had a team of 3 today. Did they have anyone in the women's race?
Yeah, Catherine Furr went to the line with Gabby, actually. She was the one who instigated and kind of gave a lead out a little bit. And then Mika came over the top for the win at the line. So, yeah.
Because
well, not the win,
I know we
second
talked about
place. Sorry, because Columbia was off the front. My bad.
We talked about it a while ago, like how 2024 was kind of my like gauge on how esports going with women and IRL racing and coming in. And I think actually what it's indicated to me more is that Kristen Kolchinski seems to be kind of like the heart and soul of that team a little bit.
When it comes to esports.
Esports. Sorry, I'm not talking IRL. I'm talking purely esport. And it seems as though like she's, being a bit sick.
Picking up Catherine is a big thing though. Picking up Catherine really, really, because Furr is a serious esports rider too. So I would just say that Catherine definitely, I think, is as passionate. I just think Fer doesn't post quite as much and have like the same personality presence as Kristen, perhaps.
Yeah. And I think like James, I'd have to agree. I was a little, I had no idea what was going on when I was watching USA Nationals because I was watching it being like, KK is less like, she's not riding her usual riding style. Like she wasn't attacking as much. She was still like obviously dominating. She won it, but it just felt different. And then afterwards, when I saw that she'd been sick and I heard in the commentary she had COVID, I was kind of like, oh, please don't have this race have mucked up like like a long period of time, like she got the national champs jersey. I'm sure she'll come back like super strong, but that like Zwift racing at that level and the way she races, like it's hard. It's really hard. And if you're sick, like your body just goes.
Yeah, I think
intense.
she needed a little break. She's just been doing zone 2.
Yeah.
We've been messaging her with her a little bit here and there, and just I think she's getting better. I think that there's some in-house stuff going on too with little Moscow. So I just want to send definitely some hugs and love her way, because I think but really cool that she was able to win the national championships and just getting better from the sickness too. So it was just sad not to see her there at ZGP. So
it leaves a bit of a it kind of shows the level of someone when they're not there. It's like obvious.
It changes,
you know what I mean?
things.
Like
it changes.
It changes things.
Yeah. It totally does. Totally does. So, okay. Well, next up then, if you haven't watched all the ZGP, go check it out. Great racing, obviously. Tour de Boudica was awesome. ZMS has all their streams from this past weekend. Echelon Racing League. So we are going to touch on it because results have gone out and official. And obviously national championships have been awarded. But there's another topic that is, there were a lot of annulled. I'm going to call them annulled. They did call them DQs. I think the word annulled is, it's respectful. I'm going to use the disqualification, but I think a lot of it is a learning experience. I think there's so many people that are coming into the esports space thinking that like, all devices just read the same, just do the same thing. And like, there's a reason why the rules say you can only use these devices, right? Like, and the reason why is because those devices they have maybe some little problems, but not glaring problems that could cause a whole lot of like annulments and people going, what's going on here? So, do you want to piggyback on that at all?
Yeah. I mean, I saw the DQ list today and I was surprised at how many DQs were secondary power meter paired, like power meter paired as primary source. I'm like, that's like should be very clear. Like it's especially
it's clearly
if you're doing
written in the rules. It's clearly written in the rules.
So I guess, and I don't know the names of the riders, so I assume that maybe they're a bit, because I know, like you're saying, ERL, Echelon brings in sort of people from in real life, and so they're probably just like, oh, whatevs, like here's my power meter, and that's what I train on, and it's paired up to the screen, and we're all good. But yeah, unfortunate, because I do, which is why I kind of didn't want to talk about the topic last week until any kind of DQ list had been released, but it's I just know from having teammates who have been DQ'd for, like your heart rate monitor stops working halfway through a Grand Prix race, and it's so innocent, but immediately you're on a list of someone who's been DQ'd, and immediately there's like a shadow cast a bit over what you're doing. And I hope Jen doesn't actually mind me saying this. It actually, like, she started to feel bad because Sarah Roach was DQ'd and Jen was in the breakaway with Sarah in the last race, and that pushed her up to third place. And Jen started questioning, like, well, maybe I didn't deserve that third place because I was like drafting off someone who's now been DQ'd. I'm like, oh, it casts, it makes so many people doubt themselves. And I think what happened with Sarah Roach, I don't know how much we want to go into it, but, it has started making me really paranoid in races, like even in Tour de Boudica, like I was telling you, there was the after the Innsbruck snapper, there's a downhill part that's like -7, and I sprint, like not intent, like sprint coasted to try and get into a super tuck, probably like twice or three times down there, like jammed the pedals to then like sit in super tuck, and then it wouldn't go on super tuck, so I'd give it another shot on the next -7, and I like after the race was like, oh my gosh, am I going to get DQ'd? Like, was that wrong? Like, and so I think, yeah, it's hard. I think the DQ lists are really, I always try and give people like always the benefit of the doubt that it really isn't like maliciously trying to go in and cheat. And it's a lot of people just the stuff, their heart rate monitor does die, or they did inadvertently hook up the wrong power meter, but unfortunately it will hang with them for a while.
Yeah. And I want to just say that first and foremost, the defensiveness up front about an annulment or people like coming at you like, hey, whoa, what's going on? And like, whoa, I didn't know, like what, or, like that is, expected almost like, if you know how to do PR really well, you'll step back, you'll let it settle. And then you like come up with something very cold, or like not cold, but like calculated and fact-based, and look for authority out there to you know what I mean, to work on that. And so I actually like to speak to Sarah Roach. Like, I think she handled it fairly well, what was going on there. And I think that my take is it didn't look like anything was on purpose, at all. Like that, it looked like to me, this is someone who found something that was a way that she didn't know that this was actually a problem. Like that's what it looked like to me. And you had communicated something similar. Now, guess what? I don't have a crystal ball. And no one has a crystal ball about what anyone's motivations are anywhere in the world. And we're never going to be able to control or change anyone's motivations. So talking about them and what they were in the past, after like authorities have taken care of things, doesn't help anything. And like, I just am assuming the best of someone who was like literally on camera and had fire socks on, like you had said, and probably like, why would you do that if you knew about sticky watts in any way whatsoever? Like if you knew that you were going to be pedaling in a way that people would be like, what is that? And like your fire socks would be going off over and over again. Like you probably wouldn't be doing that, but this whole thing isn't about Sarah Roach. This whole thing isn't about all of those DQs there. Like the only thing that we can control is the hardware and the software and the requirements, right? And if we communicate those correctly and well and shore up the software and shore up the hardware, like about how well it's able to constrain the motivations and how they work within the space, that's all we have control over. We can't control human motivation. And that's where I have a problem with pointing. So I'm going to bring this up. Like you're pointing at the wrong thing when you point at how people pedal. Like that's a human motivation, right? Like, and pointing at like how people and people pedal to produce power. Like as long as there's there's two different topics here, but it's getting at the wrong thing. Like how somebody does something, if it's within the boundaries of like how you can produce power on a bike, then there's another problem. So like the problems with the software and the hardware, not how people are interacting with the platform. There's something wrong with, so that's a whole nother topic that we could get into, because I've gone back and forth, but with a lot of people on this one. But the interesting thing that comes up there is that within the rule set, so just so everybody knows, within the rule set at both, I think with Zwift and also at I think Indy Velo and within WTRL, you're not allowed to pedal the way that you were pedaling to get to 57 kilometers per hour. If you go on off, and on off like you were, then you could get DQ'd for I don't know, I think it's called sprint coasting or speed coasting or something along those lines.
Yeah. It's so hard though, right? Because this is a downhill thing. Like I would never do that uphill or on flat or anything. It's to get into a super tuck position, right? And it's how I would also, I mean, I'm not a road cyclist in races, but I do this in triathlon. Like when we're riding a rolling course, when I get up to the crest of a roller, I get up out of the saddle and do like 8 really hard pedal strokes to make sure I've got momentum for the down. But I guess like, because I talked to my team afterwards, I was like, oh, what do you, because another teammate was the same. She was like, I was trying to get in super tuck so bad, but it just kept not getting in. I mean, so where does, like,
where's
again,
the problem?
it's
where is the problem? Where is the problem? So Barney just came in and said yes and no. There's also natural pedaling style. That's chocolate or vanilla ice cream. And I will stand there like until someone shows me that it's not just what you like better. Like, because the problem is free watts. And I think that there's free watts on so many power meters out there that people are afraid that I'm opening a door for people to use sticky watts. No, I'm not. If there's sticky watts, if there's free watts anywhere, eliminate them. But I could have my own league that says you can only pedal on off in my league because I like it better. And consistent pedaling is not allowed. And that rule works exactly the same rule about natural pedaling styles. Or if I go to Jupiter, it might be more beneficial for every single human being in Jupiter where the gravity is completely different to go in, or in space, or where. In all possible worlds, including the virtual ones, wherever the physics works, however they are, if it's an equal playing field and it's real power, it's okay. Now, if you want to change the physics so that pedaling one way and producing power, like, benefits the person who can pedal that way and produce power that way, benefits them more, okay. But if it's real power, that's a physics problem and not a pedaling style problem. I don't like the way that this world rewards everyone on a fair playing field with the same rules. And because I don't like that, you can't do it. Like, and that's like, just rewrite the physics then. That has nothing to do with someone cheating or gaining an advantage. Because if you can do it, if you can do it and there's nothing free, there's no manipulation, then this is just like I like in real life on planet Earth with the certain gravity, not at elevation, not within a dome that's cold, that changes the physics because it's colder. Like, there's so many variables that, like, if it's the same physics, it's fine. So anyways, that's my take on that one.
I think there's a really good point here from Ned Bowen, who I haven't actually seen comment before, so hi Ned, which is if you race a lot inside, it is easy to learn bad habits that give you more power because of how power is measured and recorded. I'd agree. I'd even say sometimes it's not bad habits. So one thing I learned pretty quick coming into racing was a lot of the girls, and when you look at their live stream when they're racing, and they're putting in a 1 minute, 2 minute, 3 minute, 4 minute, 5 minute effort, they're out of the saddle. I mean, extreme is KK, who can be out of the saddle for like freaking 20 minutes. And I think I found getting out of the saddle gave me more power. Like if I could just learn, I used to do all these reps to be able to get to 5 minutes and be able to push pedals down out of the saddle because there's no aerodynamics. So that you're not losing aerodynamic.
Yeah. You're just standing and grinding. You're standing and grinding.
And I watched a ton of GCN videos on standing versus seated in real life on hills, and the only reason they were saying seated was because of aerodynamics, that if there weren't aerodynamics and you could muscularly hold out of the saddle, you should go out of the saddle. I was like, I'm going to do that in Zwift because now, is that a bad habit? No, I don't think it's against any rules. It's just the way I do it. Would I ride? If you gave me a 20-minute FTP test outside, I'm not going to do that out of the saddle. Like, I'm just not. But inside, I
and that's where like I just won't even entertain like in real life arguments. I'm like they just don't hold water. They're illogical. Like if you want to talk about in real life, go talk about in real life. This is like you want to define cycling and the word bad came in there because defining cycling is in real life. Then I'm like, that's fine. Go race in real life. Why are you trying to copy that to here? Like, That's not how things work here, right? And then the other thing, I agree with Barnes that if it's not physics and it is free watts anywhere, find every single little free watt, but don't tell people how to pedal. Like, get rid of every single free watt, like in the whole freaking, like totally fine, like totally fine. That's the real problem. Let's not point at because here's the problem. If we point at how people pedal, guess what? We're never going to get the hardware. Start going to where the problem is. Because guess what? If there's an email that goes out from WTRL that says you can get your annulment verified, like ratified, if you can get the device company to prove that you have no free watts, right? That or they update. And then if customer service is at these device places are going, there's all these people who want better power meters because we're pointing at the right problem and not at their pedaling, we're going to get better power meters. Like we're going to get no free watts. Stop pointing at the wrong problem.
You're saying we're pointing at the symptom.
Yes.
And trying
exactly. Don't point at the symptom, not the root cause. And if we point at the root cause, we're going to be able to fix the root cause. So like, I'm fine with catching. And now don't get me wrong. I'm totally fine with like, hey, there's a symptom when you got 20,000 people racing and you can't parse them all. And we just go, bam, bam. Sorry, that symptom is almost always a problem. Great. You got a couple people trying to, like, okay, fine. But if somebody comes back and like is able to prove that there was no free watts whatsoever, and they were literally just free, like actually producing that power, why are we DQing them? Like that's, you know what I mean? Like but rarely ever is that an issue. And one more thing on this, Zwift Insiders, just so everybody knows, did a microbursting test. If you go to Zwift Insider and you search microbursting, you'll see the test. And he did 1 second on off at 600 to 0, 600 0, 600 0. Then he did like 2 seconds at 100 to 500, 100 to 500. He did this all with bots. And like rightfully so, the bot that was producing literally 600 watts and then 0 watts and then literally 600 watts and then 0 watts. It wasn't like they weren't producing that power. Got 8 seconds on Tempest Fugit. Right on. If any human being can actually produce 600 watts and then 0 and then 600 watts and then 0 over and over and over again, they should gain 8 seconds on you. Or maybe not. Maybe we have a world where it doesn't, and then we'll change how we race to the physics of that world. But it's still the same world with real power. So I don't know how many ways I can say this. You know what I mean? Like the root of the issue is whether or not it's real power. Anyways. Yeah.
I think if I look at the crux of the issue for me, I'm sort of like, if you are using it intentionally to cheat and grab the free power, then yes, that is a DQable offense.
100%.
But if this is unintentional or this is just a way you found, like Ned said that you raced a while on Zwift and then we're like, oh, wow, like this isn't giving me free power, but I'm kind of racing while doing this. It's you need to go to the root cause. It has to be fixed at the root.
And most of the time, everyone, I'm not trying to open a door. I think most of the time when people are pedaling this way, they probably have sticky watts. They probably should not be getting the results that they're getting. I'm not saying that we should just open the door for free power everywhere at all. That's not what I'm saying at all. And I want to make this so clear. This isn't about specific situations. I'm not talking about specific individuals here. This is about having a conversation about like what's going on in an open conversation about what's going on with the hardware in this space. And like, if there's a single instance that like brings it up, okay, we've been here for 8 years with lots of different, situations, and we're slowly whittling down what's allowed, what's not allowed in different kinds of ways in order to eliminate these problems as best we can. I do think the hardware needs to catch up. I do think we need some solutions on the software side to like start having more ability to limit devices maybe, because like if a power meter was not allowed as the primary source at nationals, this wouldn't have been an issue.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like it's not, the user wouldn't have made that mistake. And I'll go even further. Why aren't we at the point where we all agree on what a watt is as a protocol across all hardware? Like, and then the software can just be like, hey, it's not reading right. You know, and then we don't have to do dual recording. Right now we're like recording secondary devices and uploading them to double check this and like, you know, like I think, but at the same time, how many people are going to buy a super, super high-end esports device? Well, if there's like 20,000 ZRL racers who are getting disqualified, you know, 500 of them are getting disqualified, and those 500 people really want to race, maybe that's 500 esports trainers. I don't know. Like,
yeah.
And this is,
Hugh, I think is the name, has a good point. Like we know which power meters tend to read high and in which situations and which have these issues. Like I think I actually like your point made about like if it was people actually going to the suppliers now and like putting in tickets and complaining and saying like this isn't great. That's kind of the end point we want to get to, and those suppliers go, no, actually you're right, it's not great. We need to fix this. But I think at the moment we've got a bit of a blunt tool because there's been a ton from, I don't know this, but it just feels like this topic whenever I like
it's
look
an emotional
at it
reaction.
on Facebook, it's very emotional. And I think probably WTRL is under a ton of pressure to do something about it. And so the rule is what it is to
I agree
fix
so wholeheartedly with you.
Yeah.
No, I so agree with you that there's like there's a very intense emotional reaction right now in a space, and I'm sorry, I think the rules right now are also echoing that emotional reaction. Like I sense that as well, because it's like I do see, and even like guys, I had sticky watts on a power meter. I raced on a power meter. Like, I didn't know what was going on. Now, I didn't like manipulate it on, off. But like some of my old races, I had the little thing, like, I would try and get up to 57 kilometers per hour. And like anybody who's racing on an event-based power meter that's called event-based, I think it's event-based, I'm pretty sure, like that, it had it in it. And so it's like, these devices are like, it's like, they're great devices for measuring power outside. They weren't ready for this, you know, but it's, again, that we need to get away from that emotional reaction and like start shooting those tickets, start pointing those people who are like, why am I DQ'd? Well, if you go and talk to the people who made this and enough of those start going in and start demanding a product, supply and demand, like go to the market. Let's push the market. Let's go. And like, and if we go, now that's my point. If we go to people's motivations, we're not going to solve it. If we go to how they're pedaling, it's their problem because of the way they're doing this thing. You're never going to solve this because all you're going to do is take away a symptom that wasn't the actual problem. I actually think if you stop people from pedaling this way, that it actually is a Band-Aid and we're going to cover this up for longer rather than being like, hey, go find the root. And if you write it into the rules that what the root is, that you say, yes, you can't pedal this way because it tends to be blah, 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 blah about a device or whatever. And you actually make it very clear about what the problem is. People will go, oh, but I can get reinstated if, and then they'll go and follow up. And you know what I mean? So that's what I think.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So there's my big thing on that whole thing. All right. I'm obviously really passionate about this one. Like I've been in, why am I so... Can you like do some like Freudian on me here? Like what's my what's going on here with Nathan's psychology? Why am I so like
oh my gosh. Just as like a background to the pod, like I have steered away from this topic for so long because I'm just like, and I was always like, I just don't know enough about it. But then I think with what happened at ERL last week, and even last week I was like, oh, I just don't really want to talk about it until the results get released. But I think like we're coming at it from a good point here, and I think like there's a lot of pitchforking, and I don't probably feel as passionately about the topic as I've seen on Facebook and some of the Zwift channels,
or your co-host
messaging me, or your co-host. So I was just like, oh my gosh, I don't know. But I think you've rounded out. You've made it pretty clear what you're talking about. So I think it's good. Yeah. There'll be people who disagree. Come in.
Yeah, and we can disagree. Like people, if people like no, you can only pedal this way. I'm like, cool. Go make a league where you can only pedal that way. And there might be a bunch of people who are like, yeah, we only like, but I'm gonna stand on that's just ice cream still. Like it's not like I'm gonna stand
Sorry, I'm just kind of looking. So Yuke's come in and said he had sort of there's a lot of chat going on that's people are chatting amongst themselves. He said that My Whoosh has disallowed optical heart rate monitors.
That's interesting.
Yeah, which is quite interesting. Like I wear the strap around my bicep, which is an optical. I don't ever pair my watch. I don't even think I can pair my watch. But I know my heart rate, like I know my bicep heart rate monitor is probably inaccurate, or maybe it's accurate. I don't really know. Like I'm not a huge heart rate follower. I just honestly wear it for Zwift races. So I'm kind of like, oof, that's interesting. Like, because I would more say, wouldn't you want to, I don't know, heart rate. I'm like, that's kind of blown my mind. I'm like, if you had a performance passport, obviously the heart rate would match a power, even if that heart rate is a few beats off. Like how would, I don't know, wild. I don't know how they would mitigate cheating. Yeah. I get power meters. I get trainers. Get power meters.
Maybe they just want to make sure it stays. You know, that might be like we deal with so many off heart rates with opticals that we just don't want to deal with it. You know, and that's similar to that is kind of similar. Now measuring a heart rate and being like, that's a verified heart rate. Like it doesn't really matter to the event. You know what I mean? That much. Like it doesn't really do anything to the event in that way, as far as like you don't win because your heart rate's high. You know
that's what I mean. So like, who cares? Like it's a really odd
on
one.
On performance verification though, I do know that like sometimes like when they really get into the nitty gritty of like doing a power passport, like can this person actually produce what we saw produced? They do look at heart rate data, so they kind of want it there. But I don't know. Yeah. I don't know why it would be that. So you know, I wonder if there's something with the only thing I could think of is that like sometimes people would use that heart rate thing where like you have a power that gets communicated via A&T Plus or via Bluetooth or something from that app that says, hey, at this heart rate, this if you're in this zone, you're probably producing this wattage, and then it communicates that wattage out as a signal, you know, and then you can like just have your heart rate going, and if you get your heart rate really high, you're doing a whole lot of watts or something, you know, like if you put it in a high FTP, like, but that wouldn't be allowed in esports races. So I don't know what like that there's like that way of connecting to the game just wouldn't even be allowed. So I don't get it. Like,
yeah, I'm intrigued by that. I care about anything that makes your avatar go faster. So yeah. That's mostly just power. That's just power.
Power up. Food. When I eat food, my avatar goes faster. Food, water, gels.
That makes you go faster.
Cooling,
no, I'm talking about your avatar.
The cooling in the house. My avatar goes faster when things are cooler usually in my house.
Nice. Oh my gosh.
Well, I hope one thing I really want to say closing this out though is we love and like I just have a lot of respect for a lot of friends who are actually DQ'd. There's actually friends of mine who like, and like totally respect them still, totally like think they're great people and don't think that there was any maliciousness actually on like everyone that I knew on that list that got annulled. I don't think that they were being malicious. I think that like they just didn't know and they're new to this data space and how it works. And we got to up our game on the comms. We got to up our game on the devices and that like, and we were talking about this also too, like TDZ yesterday was just full of like tons of devices that were all over the place. Who cares? Like, but like
again,
for me, that's where it's just a game, right? But like on the other end, in Zwift Grand Prix today with 10K line, it's a freaking game, dude. Like, come on, play the game, right? Like two different things going on there, but that's where we need casual, very clearly communicated. There may be devices here that aren't blah, whatever. Go get a good workout, have fun. I feel like it's not being made as black and white as it needs to be. You know what I mean? It's not being made as clear that this is casual and this is competitive. And like, we kind of need to go like this with these two spaces so that we don't get them confused, because there's a lot of people who show up like, it's just a game. I'll decrease my weight. Blah, blah, blah. Whatever. Shut up, dude. I'm getting my workout, man. And then there's another guy who's like, I came here to race. You're not real. I'm offended. This sucks. I'm going somewhere else. You know what I mean? It's like, we can't mix those people.
Like I'd say, like the philosophy of sport basically is that you want the ability to compete in a fair and even playing, well, not even, but fair playing field, right? That you turn up and you have a sense that you're actually competing and you're going for a win, and that win means something. I think in Zwift, and this is the way I look at it. If I was racing Grand Prix or probably the Zwift Championships, I'm not sure, and also the Worlds, I would have that absolutely. This is a fair playing field. I know people have been weighed in under a protocol that I'm somewhat comfortable with. I know that people's trainers have been verified. I know they've done a ZADA test.
Somewhat comfortable with. I love how you said that.
Oh my gosh. I'm happy with the fact people have done IRL efforts. I'm happy with all that. Now I go race ZRL, and I know there will be trainers out there that read high. I know people aren't dual recording. I know people could put in whatever the hell weight they want. So I sit there and I'm okay with accepting that we may not be in a fair playing field. And that's just how I separate.
Now, do you feel like ZRL should maybe get support or start heading toward or have a space? Like, I don't know, like with ZRL, it's a little more competitive, I feel like. It's a little more like, I don't know, like, and that's where I feel like there's going to be these two spaces that start to develop. At least I feel like there's a demand out there for that isn't like clearly communicated. You know what I mean? Like, or maybe it has been clearly communicated and it's just not being serviced. I don't know, like for a little bit, or would it scare too many people off? And then ZRL wouldn't be that. And actually the demand's not there. Is that what you're saying?
Yeah. I'm kind of saying that. If you look at it, I'll look at it with an in real life example. When I race in triathlon professionally, or I'm going for a qualification for a world champs or anything like that, then, I expect that there's technical officials making sure people aren't drafting. So that's probably the biggest way that you could cheat in like a triathlon event, right? Is you could get up on someone and draft. I would expect, and I pay for technical officials to be there to make sure and blow a whistle and give that person a DQ or
nobody's paying. Nobody's paying. You're paying for roads. That's a good point.
Yeah. So I expect that in that race. Now I go race what I would consider, this is my WTRL example, my local triathlon where I still want to go in and win, and for the majority it's fair, but there's no officials out there manning whether people are drafting or not. So what happens? A ton of people draft, and you just go, okay, this is that event. Like, that's where I'm at now. Like, I will get a little frustrated, but that's what I'm accepting here, is that there's not that part of it.
But if somebody gets caught, egregiously gets caught, they're going to get kicked. Like, if they get egregiously caught, though, somebody might see something like they cut the course.
There's no official. If someone cut, and this actually gives a really good point, as I think in this situation is where I rely on the community. So this is where I would, and this is where you see a lot on the ZRL team managers chat. Hey, who's the team manager of Team X? I just want to have a little chat. I think it's community policed a little bit, because that's what would happen in that in real life event. If someone just cut the run course short, I would absolutely for sure say to an event organizer, hey, I know you don't have officials here, but like that person completely cut the run short. And I think the same would happen in WTRL. So I guess the point I'm making is that at the top level, you want as much fairness baked in as possible, that you turn up and you are comfortable with how the racing is. Otherwise, it's just a joke.
Because there's status and money on the line. Now, the reason I said you're paying for roads, I was actually talking about Zwift. I was talking about on Zwift, your subscription goes for the roads. Now, at the top level, there's a lot of money on the line. But you know what happened with ERL? There was money on the line because somebody paid to play. And so the moment that happened, guess what happened? Verification. So like, do you see what I'm saying? Like,
that's true.
If you you put money on the line at the very top level because there's prize money, but also if you put a little bit of money on the line, it seems like it ups there's another space here. And that's kind of what I've been pointing at for the last 6 months on and off here about like opening the space up, and like, don't put the onus on Zwift. They provide the roads. That doesn't mean that they need to provide the verification. Like, you see what I'm saying? Like, you're paying for roads.
Yeah, but I think as well, a series like ZRL, which has tens of thousands of people, I don't think, and I would actually be kind of disappointed if they brought in similar rule sets to a Grand Prix, because many people, a lot of my teammates included, who just do ZRL, aren't going to go out and buy a power meter. And I would prefer to have some fun racing than make it such a high barrier to entry. No one can do it. I agree. You know?
But I also think that what I'm getting at is like, this space might not be ZRL space, but I do think there's a community, and I think we're proving that there's a community that's willing to go there, and like we're mixing them up. That's my point. Is like, and the way to stop mixing them is to put an offering out there in some way, like we have with ERL, or you know what I mean? Like, start empowering the organizers if they want to go do that. And you might get like a few people leaving the ZRL experience for another experience because they want something that's fairer, and they'll give more of their time to that. And money, maybe.
Yeah, yes. I guess, and simply agree. I've seen.
Is there a part of you that we're gonna lose people though, and just accept it? Like, I feel like there's a little bit of that going on. Maybe like, well, come on, like, just play.
I'm not. Yeah, I don't know. I haven't fully thought through. All I can say is that I go into ZRL with a bit of acceptance that some parts of it aren't entirely fair, and I'm kind of okay with it. Like, I'm just sort of like, I'd rather be racing. I mean, and I'm saying here, someone's not sitting there on a Z power going 10 watts a kg for 20 minutes. Like, there's a difference between that and then like, oh, wow, that was some high watts, but okay, like, there's nothing on the line here for me, and I kind of accept it a little bit. But if that happened in Grand Prix, I'd be pissed. I'd be like, we're doing all this stuff. Zwift Championship, which I'm doing, and I went out and frickin' was sprinting on the road, which was probably the weirdest thing anybody has ever seen, because I don't know how to sprint on the road. Again, if I've put in all this time and effort to validate, and I turn up and something like what happened with Sarah Roach happened with the sticky watts, I'd be pretty pissed. Like, I'd be like, we shouldn't have got to this point. I wonder
if by then the software will get to where like, hey, these devices can't be paired in this event.
Yeah, I think it should.
I wonder. I mean, because there's a lot on the line at Zwift games. I wonder, like, because there's gonna be a lot of people, and like to parse all of that. Like, come on, let's just get like only these devices.
Which is why I'm really intrigued to see how this goes. And Barnes brings in a great point, which I totally agree with, which is, and it's kind of what I was saying before, is that at the ZRL level, the community has to police it a little bit. And this is what, like, as soon as the thing with ERL happened and the sticky watts, like, honestly, our team chat, and Jen and I talked because we're sort of like the managers of the team, like, it is our responsibility to make sure that if we see anything happening with our team that we're like, oh, hey, just a sec, that might get pulled up, we have to have responsibility there too to pull it up. And I would hope that anyone that we race against, a team manager would call me or message me and say, hey, just FYI, I raced against one of your team today, and this was just a bit weird. I'd be like, okay, cool, let's look into it. So I think hopefully we've got a community that can openly talk to each other like that and not throw pitchforks or rage too much.
I agree. No, like I'm fine with that in a community, totally in a community.
Community, this is not at a.
But what I'm getting at is I think that is casual, like that's casual, like super casual space, and I think that like you're saying it goes straight from casual to professional esports. And I'm like, there's a place in the middle here that needs to like bridge that, where there's a lot of people who want fair racing, who don't race A, who race B, C, and D, who are like, you know, like masters who are like, I've been around a long time and I really want fair racing. I can't race Zwift Grand Prix. Where do I go? And they're like, I don't want casual. Right. And so there's a demand out there where I'm kind of like, I think, yeah, sure. Have everybody hang out that wants just like, it's casual and they police each other. And I think because it would be known it's casual, it would get way more opened up actually to talk openly as a community for policing, because it's understood that here's our expectation in this casual space, and it's open about what the expectation is. And then I think like, it'd be just so much more of a comfortable conversation for everybody, rather than this like things are hidden, everything's in the dark. Like it just like who's pitchforking who this week, you know what I mean? Because and then as those spaces get really well defined, we have way less pitchforks because the expectations are so clear and everybody kind of has somewhere to go about how they want to interact with the space, you know? So anyways, thanks everybody for hanging out with our soapboxing here on the microphones, because that was a long one. And I knew if we went here, it was we spent 20 minutes in pre-production going through this whole conversation. Like, should we do this? I don't know. All right, here we go.
Oh, I'm just not going to look at the YouTube comments afterwards. I don't know. We'll see how it goes. I get so paranoid about those. I usually check in the morning and be like, oh. But I think we've covered that pretty well. There's been some great chat coming in as well.
I appreciate everyone's comments. That's great, actually. It's really good. I really appreciate everybody's comments. And maybe in the future we get an expert that knows things about watts, like down the road, like from Wahoo or who knows what, that knows way more than we do about where the device space is at, you know, or where the software space is at and all that kind of stuff. Because we're definitely soapbox. All right, Jersey Pick of the Week. We've been online for a long time, so let's get it moving here. Anna's literally just deleting lines from the show notes. Gone. Nope, we're moving on. Let's go. Jersey Pick of the Week, the London Tube. Why is this called the London Tube? What do you think about that? Where does this come from?
Oh, yeah. I don't actually know why it's called the London Tube. It doesn't even... Oh, it could be... If you look at the London Tube maps, there's all these different lines.
Oh, yeah, those lines. It's the lines.
Yeah.
That's what it is. Yeah. Okay.
So that will be it. I'm slowly going through my levels. So I'm now on level 63, which unlocked this kit, and I'm rocking it until I hit 64. Leveling up, don't want to hit another little comment, bad area here, but leveling up way faster than I want to. But anyway, it's...
Wait, I thought you said it was going to take you like a year.
I know, but since it's changed, I haven't realized I'm already halfway through 63 and I only leveled up like 3 days ago. So I really like this kit.
Anna's changing her mind on the levels. Okay, keep going. We're talking about kit. Go.
There we go. It's good. I like it. It's got a nice blue color that I haven't seen in game a lot, kind of like a steely blue with the bright colors. Not sure about why the shorts are black and the top is blue. So maybe the shorts should have stayed at the blue. So I'll mark it down a little. I'll give it an 8.5.
Hey, James is coming in and letting us know that it's actually the color. It looks like the material pattern on the tube seats, actually. Oh. So it's actually the seat. That's interesting. We have to look that up. Thanks, James.
I am actually Googling it right now. Oh my God, yeah, that's right.
It's exactly what it looks. Send me. I want to see that link. What did you Google? What did you Google?
it's called a moquette, actually. Moquette is the durable woolen seating that's used on public transport all over the world, and they've got all these different patterns. So the London Tube is called
seat pattern.
Yeah, so it's called Authentic Moquette Fabric by the Meter. You can actually buy it if you'd like to.
Yeah, that's what I want.
Oh, there's a
I
whole
want to buy
website.
that. I want that in my house. Never.
Oh yeah, London fabrics over the decades. Great article on the Guardian if you want to go check that out and go through that. Wow,
That's
there's
great.
a full history of how they made this. This is cool. Okay, that baby pushes it up
Now
to like
look
an
what you've
8.75.
given what you've given Anna to go do. That is pretty cool, actually. Well done, Zwift, on that they've brought that into the world of Zwift. It's very British to do that, I feel like. I don't know.
I will guarantee, like, I'm looking at this article being like, so we sit here and we're talking on the Zwift podcast and we just think it's the most important thing ever. I guarantee there'll be a podcast on people talking about fabrics through the ages.
I bet you. Yeah. There's probably, let us know if you can, if anyone out there listens to a podcast on the fabrics of the ages. And if it's called Fabrics of the Ages.
If not, we'll just start another one.
Oh my gosh. I'll give it my knee-jerk reaction on this is a 7. I don't know, like I'll get 7.8. 7.8. There you go.
Okay.
That's my rating. Let us know what your rating is. All right, well that's it for us. ZRL's coming up. You heard, is it a sprint race the first one, or is it TTT? What is the first one?
No. Sprint race is like the second. First is scratch race, Ocean Lava Cliffside Loop. The Aero Power Up.
That's right. Oh, it's a good one.
Yeah, great course.
It's a good one.
I know.
Good course, everybody. Really excited for that. We'll see you on probably both of our Twitch channels next week, Tuesday. Are you going to stream your race?
Oh, actually, no, because I'm like the reason I can't be on the podcast next week. I'm in a place with no Wi-Fi.
Oh.
So this is my setup for the race. I'm on my parents' kicker snap. I'm going to pair with my power meter. So sorry, I will we've gone against everything I've said.
She's doing sticky
watts. I'm going to be on sticky watts.
Oh!
So it's either that or pair with the kicker snap. God knows
power meter.
how accurate that would
Power
be.
meter.
Power meter. So paired with my power meter, I will have to hotspot my phone off some mobile connection from my husband, and I will be Zwifting just on my phone.
Who knows, man? What if everyone's going to disappear on you on and off? Ooh.
I think they will. I've said to my team, I'm like, I'm just going to go and you guys just tell me when you need someone to push up and I'll try and do what I can. And also no fan, and it's about 30 degrees. So there we go.
That's a workout. That's going to be a tough one. That'll be a tough one. Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'll be here. I'm riding my mountain bike actually recently. I'll see how well I race. I'm in, like I said, weightlifting mode, but that's what I'm looking forward to. And over the weekend, I'll probably do some racing, riding, TDZ. That's what I'm up to for the next week. Make sure to, if you want to join us, check out our Twitch channels. Anna Zwift Racer, right?
That's it. Yeah. I'm a Zwift
Look
racer.
at that. Anna Zwift Racer. I got it. That's her Twitch channel. Nathan Guerra on Twitch. Gabby's killing it on the Twitch too. Actually, she's doing a really good job. All right, everybody. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We have been live on Twitch, YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter. If you want to download this podcast as an audio version, head on over to ZwiftCommunityLive.com/podcast. You can find that over there. We also have some pretty cool new threads, Zwift Community Live threads. If you do get the indoor version, I believe, I'm not sure which version it is. There's a certain version you get where you get a headband and a towel as well. I'm assuming that's the indoor version. But head on over there. You can find the store on the front page. And we will see, I'll see you next week. I think we're going to invite Alex Cohen if he can jump on for some awesome coaching information, as Anna will be gone, and we'll see you for ERL on Saturday morning, 9 a.m. CST. As always, everybody, thank you so much for tuning in, and ride on.